all the time when the bull was thrashing us, George was telling me, he's gonna kill us now, he's gonna kill us now. And I was completely in a sudden shock, which, I was so terrified, and I couldn't, I thought maybe this was the end of me and the end of my life.
I've been charged. I've actually had a couple elephants touch the car. One lifted the front end up before, but they'd always sort of been gentle with me, so I wasn't really worried about elephants. I thought they'd display their strength, but they'd never go through with it and hit us. So that's probably why I sat as the male walked around, thinking that he was just going to use this as a shield. But what he ended up doing is this male walked around to the back of the car, and the other male was sort of standing up towards the front of the car, and the male who was bleeding decided to stick his tusk to the back end of the car. And he started sticking his tusk into there was a plastic camper top to the back, and he stuck his tusk in through the window of that thing, and it just shattered. And I think once it shattered, it sort of snapped in his mind, and he just started hammering the car. And he was hammering us up against a bush, and I tried to get the car. I actually started the car and tried to drive it, but he was holding us, and the tires spun, and then he basically flipped the car onto its side, was beating it, started ripping the roof off. He started in the back and was sort of systematically ripping things apart, and flipped the car completely upside down. And actually, in the beginning, I told Daniel, I think he'll hit us once and go away. But then once he flipped the car upside down, I thought actually he was finished with us. I thought we were safe because we had the whole chassis over the top of us, and we were underneath the car. The radio had blown, the fuse had blown, so we had no communication at this point. And we could see him sort of through the smashed windows. We could see him walking around, and I thought he was going to leave at this point. But instead of leaving, he actually came up and hit the car, and with one hit, he sort of lifted up the whole car and flipped it onto its tires. And after that, it was pretty clear that we were in deep trouble. And at that point, he was actually on my door. And his last hit, luckily, was one tusk hit here, actually hit the frame of the car, luckily, and came up across the door like that. And the other tusk went up into the engine block. So this male's tusk breadth is this big. You can see how much strength he was. And it was so, I thought actually he went through. When he hit that door, I thought that was pretty much it for me. And I actually had to check my side to see there wasn't a tusk in me. In elephants fight, it's all sort of a position game, and you have to be square face on when you fight. If you ever get hit in the side, you're dead. And so when you find males that have killed each other, they'll have a tusk in the side, tusk in the lungs. That's generally how males will kill each other. So when they're fighting, they're just locked into each other constantly. And when this guy had sort of lost concentration of the guy he was fighting, his back was to him, the other male came up to get him from behind. And then he had to make a decision if he was going to continue with the car or if he was going to defend against the other male. And he actually started looking between the car and the male, and he basically had to choose the male, luckily for us. And so then they got locked back into their war, and they moved away from us slowly. And at this point, the doors were all, as you can see, so broken up that we couldn't open any doors. And we waited for them to get maybe 15 meters away, and at this point they were so focused on each other, we decided to climb out the window on Daniel's side, because they were on my side. And we snuck out, used a car as a shield. We sort of ran low to the ground because we were on this open plain, so there wasn't much of any place to run to if they caught on that we were getting away and they wanted to kill us. There was no place for us to hide. And we just ran down to the nearest river, which was maybe half a kilometer away, and got to where there were large trees. And from then we slowly started working our way up to a main road so we could flag down someone to come help us.